Hey folks, welcome back to another video. We've got what's probably going to be quite a long one, so let's just get right into it. Aside from Mossberg OEM, original equipment manufactured forends, aside from Mossberg OEM, these other companies may make forearms for your shotgun in like a Winchester SXP, Remington 870, maybe some Turkish imports that are similar specs, I don't know. But these are all for Mossberg pump action shotgun with a 7 3/4 inch slide action tube. Action arms attached to the tube. That's where we measure to the end of the threads. Most forend manufacturers give you an option of the longer 7 3/4 inch action tube or the, I believe, 6 3/4 inch action tube. If you're going to get any of these, you need to know which tube you have beforehand. Let's do a brief overview of the forends that we'll be looking at in depth. First up is the Mossberg OEM checkered forend. Next is the Mossberg OEM wood corncob forend. Next up will be the Mossberg OEM polymer corncob. After that will be the Mossberg OEM Polymer Corncob with Tri-Rail. And for the last of the original equipment manufacturers, or OEM, this will be the Mossberg OEM Polymer MLOK. For the aftermarket varieties, we have the Ergo Tri-Rail, we have the ATI Strikeforce, which is a railed variant. We have the Magpul MLOK, FAB Defense Vanguard, which is MLOK, and the Strike Industries VOA, which is MLOK. And since I'm pretty sure I didn't say it before, as a full disclaimer, all of these were purchased with my own money. I do want to thank people who have supported this channel on PayPal. Also, there's a link in the description for that if you would like to. And those who have done super thanks in the past for videos. Just the little like more button or super thanks, the heart down below the video somewhere or wherever YouTube currently has it. And yeah, so thank you to all of you. Let's now get into individual forends. All right, first up is the OEM wood forend. This kind of style was shipped on Mossberg 500s for probably decades, and there's a lot of them out there. This particular one I have converted to cut checkering instead of pressed checkering, which is very common in mass production with wood checkering. If you would like to see the video on how I did that, go ahead and check that out. That is also on my channel. I bought this one on eBay and it was in pretty rough shape, so I have bolstered some areas with JB Weld, and I refinished it and then obviously checkered it. So for aesthetics or how it looks, if they're in decent shape, I think wood looks absolutely amazing. I think it looks the best in every environment, and I don't know if it's a nostalgia thing or just, you know, a classic gun thing. I just love the way that checkered wood forends look with black or blued steel. All right, next up is ergonomics. The shape is it's a classic shape that everyone is going to be familiar with. It's a slight square with radiused or rounded off corners. Fills the hand pretty good. Probably fits most hand sizes decently. Maybe all but the smallest hands. Good shape. They didn't do anything new or reinvent the wheel with that. The grip, if it's pressed checkering, that is disappointing. I would look at, if you're looking for one, I would look at cut checkering because it is 10 times better as far as grip is concerned. Pressed is more just for looks. Cut actually provides a grippy surface because as you grip it, the diamonds press up into the fleshy pads of your hands, leaving obviously a nice grippy surface. in most circumstances. But let's head to the range and see how this does under some maybe more adverse conditions. Conditions test for the Mossberg OEM Checkered Wood Forend. Just dry. Checkered forend does fine when it's just dry. It's been doing it for centuries. Some dirt. Hand's nice and dusty. Doing just fine. We got some mud. Oh, gotta load it. This baby's gonna be dirty. Little slick. I can tell my hand's coming off on those four. And then we'll do just a water rinse. The water rinse helped out. That mud's pretty slick, but overall a checkered wood forend. Like I said, when we took our initial shots, they've been doing it for hundreds of years, so they'll keep doing it. Works good, just a little slick with the mud. Next up is the Mossberg OEM Wood Corncob. This started its life as a retrograde wood forend, and I wanted to see what Mossberg was hiding under that retrograde finish, which is a decent finish, but it's mass produced. And I wanted to see the quality of wood that was underneath that, and I'm glad I did, because this wood that Mossberg is using is gorgeous. If you want to see that transformation video, that refinish, go ahead and check out that video on my channel. And much like the previous forend, which I forgot to mention, these types of forends don't provide any mounting options for accessories like a light or whatever you want to put on the pump forend of your shotgun. That doesn't come until later iterations. Aesthetics. So again, being wood, I think it looks amazing in pretty much all scenarios. But for me, my personal opinion, it comes in second place to the field / hunting forends or the old school classic forends. But this one still looks fantastic. All right, ergonomics. The shape, it's nice and round. Again, probably fits most hands decently. The grip can be hit or miss, it seems like. These ridges here, obviously if you grip them tight, gives places for fleshy pads to enter into, go into, and get a nice purchase on it. But like a light grab isn't gonna do you anything. You've gotta really grip it to take advantage of what these ridges are. Some different variations, whether that's more vintage or other aftermarket wood corncobs, the ridges seem to be more rounded over or have different spacing, which they don't seem to be as grippy, especially if they're rounded over. Just provide more for your hand to slide off. But let's go see how this does in the grip reliability test under different conditions. Conditional testing for wood corncob. Dry, no problems, no issues whatsoever. Obviously a wood corncob has been doing that for a long time. Shouldn't be any issues when it's dry. Just dirt. Get your hand nice and dirty, dusty. No issues with the dirt. Nice and muddy. That's pretty abrasive. I can feel the grit in that mud. Digging into my pads and my fingers, but no slippage at all on that. Almost more grippy with mud. A water rinse off just to get it wet. Gotta load it. Pretty grippy all the way through. Corncob is nice solid forend for grip. No issues for any of those tests. All right, next up is the Mossberg OEM Polymer Corncob. These were shipped on their guns for a long time, and I think still currently are on some models. They just seem to be the most common, kind of the standard. This offering from Mossberg doesn't provide a readily accessible way to attach accessories without modification. Aesthetics. They look pretty good. They're just kind of the plain standard. They've been on Mossberg shotguns for a long time, so they just kind of blend in and do work. They can be made to look like wood for cheaper than a wood one. I also have a video on how to do that if you want to check that out on my channel. They actually turn out pretty good. Ergonomics on this is the exact same as the wood. It's a nice round shape, fits the hand good, probably most hand sizes. The grip is good, just like the wood one. The fleshy portions of your hands enter these valleys, and the ridges provide a good purchase, granted if you grip it hard enough. And again, there are aftermarket variations that the ridges are rounded over, or the spacing can be closer together, farther apart. But let's see how this version does with the grip test under varying conditions. Conditional testing for the Mossberg OEM Polymer Corncob. Current temperature 40 degrees. Dry, there's no issues. Handles as it should. I really like the corncob. Good grip on them. Just dirt. Get my hand nice and dusty, dirty. Dusty, dirty, no issues whatsoever. There's some nice mud on here. Much like the wood corn cob, the grittiness of this mud seems to have made the corn cob grippier. It's very abrasive on there, and my hand wasn't going anywhere. Now I'll do a nice water rinse. Corn cobs are some of my favorites because of how grippy they are. And they have shown that in a variety of conditions, they are grippy and hold up just fine. All right, next up is the Mossberg OEM corn cob with Tri-Rail. These were shipped on new model Mossberg 590 and 590A1s from about 2015 to 2019. They may still ship on some models, but they're not pictured on any models on their website. This one provides ample space for accessories, lights, lasers, anything you want to attach with Picatinny rails. Again, one full length on the bottom and two short rails for the OEM Mossberg version. Aftermarket versions have different rails, different materials on them. For the aesthetics on these, personally, I really like these. They have an aggressive, mean look, if you understand what I'm saying. They look like they're ready to get down to business and do some work. So for ergonomics, you've kind of got two different shapes, but rear section is very much similar to the other corn cobs, nice and round, grip it hard enough. Your fleshy pads get some good grip, good purchase on there. Only difference being you have Picatinny rail at the bottom, which kind of just acts like a corn cob in itself. Back there, if your arms are long enough while you're using it to be up here, it's a little more aggressive with these edges here as far as the grip is concerned, but if you have an accessory mounted there, obviously your hands wouldn't go up past there. And like I mentioned before, some aftermarket variations, these ridges are closer together or rounded over, which would obviously be less grippy. The aftermarket variations that have the full length Tri-Rail might be a little awkward. I don't have experience with them, but I would imagine if your hands are big enough, it's fine. It's not a problem. If they're not, you're left with like either fully extended out and you're not really even gripping it, or you have to kind of grab this undersection under here, which would be incredibly uncomfortable and not functional at all. So keep an eye out for that if you plan on getting one of these. But let's see how this variant does in our testing under different conditions. Conditional testing for the Mossberg OEM corn cob with Tri-Rail. Current temperature is 40 degrees, so hands are kind of cold. Very grippy, especially on that Tri-Rail on the bottom. Prolonged shooting, you might want a rail cover for that. I could also feel the forward side ones jamming into my hand. Again, prolonged shooting, you might want a rail cover on that, but dry run, very grippy, no issues with grip. Just some dirt. Just get my hands dusty. Yeah, that Tri-Rail on the bottom is aggressive. But dirt was no issue. Next up, mud. Some nice desert mud out here. I don't know, I think my hands are getting colder, or I'm doing nerve damage. Couldn't feel the Tri-Rail as much on the bottom on that one. I may also have modified my grip to be more fingers and pad, not so much grabbing onto the Tri-Rail down there. But next up, just a water rinse to clean the mud off. Just wet. Mossberg OEM Corncob Tri-Rail is good. I like the Tri-Rail, or I like the Corncob. I always have on different grips, but that Tri-Rail is pretty aggressive. If you are going to get one of these, it's a nice option because you have places to mount accessories, but that Tri-Rail will probably tear you up after prolonged shooting. So if you're going to get one of these, I would put some rail covers over the rails that you're not using for accessories. All right, last up for the OEMs is the Mossberg OEM MLOK. These have been shipping on 590 and 590A1s for the last few years. MLOK slots are available at the 3, 6, and 9 positions, with 3 longer, 2 shorter, 3 longer, 2 shorter, and 3 longer and 2 shorter. For the aesthetics, I feel like they look nice and streamlined. I feel like these are going to be the new, just plain standard, kind of like how the Corncob has been for everything, but these are going to replace that, and it blends in and it just works and provides ample space to mount whatever you want to mount. All right, for ergonomics, it's a nice shape, roundish, in general, but there's these nice sections up here for your fingers to grip into and ride in. The only problem with grip is it's kind of slick. The fleshy pads of your fingers and hand could go into those MLOK slots, but it's just not enough, and they're long enough to feel like your hand's gonna slip and slide all over that thing. There is ample room to put aftermarket adhesive grip, such as Talon grip, or I don't know, there's a bunch of manufacturers that are like Talon grips that you could put on here in an easy manner and get a lot more grip on this forend. But we'll see how it does just like this in our testing of different conditions. Mossberg OEM MLOK conditional testing. It's about 40 degrees outside, so hands are a little chilly, but see how she runs. Dry, it's good. I can feel it slipping just a little bit on recoil. Fleshy pads go into the MLOK slots, but I don't know, just overall, not a ton of grip to begin with. Just some dirt. It kind of added some grit to it, so it felt a little more grippy with the dirt. Didn't slide too much. Next up is mud, some thick mud. The shape is really nice, where your fingers can wrap around up on that top ledge up there. Feel like you can get a good purchase on it. I could feel it slipping just a little bit with this mud. But next up is just a rinse to run it wet. In all honesty, I am pleasantly surprised with the OEM MLOK. A little bit of slippage with it dry. It was honestly still pretty new, so it hadn't been, I don't know if you can break in polymer, but dirt was good, mud good, and water. Now, I mean, there was still a little bit of grittiness from the mud. It kind of acted like some extra grip, but wet feels surprisingly good. It's pretty grippy when it's wet. I wonder if it, from factory, needed just to be washed off to be more grippy, but the Mossberg MLOK, OEM MLOK, is pretty good. All right, first up of the aftermarkets is going to be the Ergo Grips Tri-Rail. Very nice packaging. This is how it comes from the supplier. Some instructions, I'm sure. This is a all aluminum tri-rail. Ample space to mount accessories, with the entire thing just being Picatinny. So for aesthetics, it looks aggressive and battle ready, but kind of incomplete to me. I feel like the side rails should be up a little higher to add something to cover more of the barrel. The barrel just looks really exposed, and with prolonged shooting, you could possibly burn the tips of your fingers or your hand because of how exposed the barrel is. All right, ergonomics on the Ergo Tri-Rail. The square shape isn't the most ergonomic of shapes for the hand, but I'm sure the rail covers would make that feel a little better, and we'll go over how to install those in a second. But as far as grip is concerned, it's covered in uncomfortable, abrasive, bumpy nubs. Nothing a bench grinder can't fix. I really hope someone gets that reference, but if not, you need to go watch some Carnicon videos. But in all seriousness, I really like Picatinny for its grip. It may be on the edge of too much grip, but again, the rail covers can knock that down just a little bit, Because like as you squeeze it and grab it, much like a corn cob, you know, the fleshy bits of your fingers go in, but this anodized aluminum is also like abrasive. So I don't know if you can see that it's taking like a little bit of skin off, not like chunks, but yeah, very, very grippy. This one will do excellent in our adverse conditions test. But as far as the rail covers are concerned, comes with 3. They can be kind of difficult to get on sometimes, but just start with one edge, press kind of hard on one side to get it up over, and then just follow it all the way up. And there you go. So just makes it more of a soft touch to the hands instead of those sharp corners on Picatinny rails, which separate Picatinny incident, but that's how I took a chunk out of my thumb trying to get a rail cover off. Ergo Tri-Rail. Based on the tests I've done so far, I can tell you right now this one's not going to feel great. It's about 45 degrees now, so kind of cool. Hands are a little chilly. Yeah, very, very grippy. I mean, I know I'm not going to have any issues with grippiness on this one, but for sake of consistent testing, I'm going to do them all. We got some dirt here. Get my hands dirty. Oh yeah, it's getting harsh. For prolonged shooting with this one, you definitely want to run the rail covers or have gloves on, because this is aggressive mud. It's gonna make it even grittier. Mercy. That is gnarly. And last up, finally, last up with the Tri-Rail. Last up is just water rinse. See how it does. Wet. So I found myself on those last 4 with it wet. Loosening up my grip a little bit, because that is crazy aggressive. But loosening up my grip a little bit, letting it kind of float. Make sure I'm on camera, I can't see with the sun. Making my grip just kind of float in there as the gun goes off. Makes it not so bad, but then you have to grip to rack it. Right? Loosen, fire, grip, rack it. For just casual shooting, targets, whatever. Oh, mercy, that's aggressive. But if you like some grip, that's the grip for you. All right, next up is the ATI Mossberg, Remington, Winchester, Strikeforce Shotgun Forend. Unboxing. Nice packaging. There's your forend. You get a bunch of adapters since it can be adapted to a Mossberg, a Remington, or a Winchester. And there are your Picatinny rail sections. Also, I think blank sections are in there somewhere if you don't want to run the rails. And your instructions. Well, I was trying to get to talking about aesthetics and how they look, but these shipping ribs have to be like 100% removed to get the barrel on. Like you have to be down perfectly flush with that rail in there. All right, nice and flush. Let's see if our barrel will go on. Talk about how it looks. And here's a aesthetic look at it. For me, I'm not huge on these. When I see them on a gun, I can't help but think that, I don't know, maybe Bubba got a hold of it and just threw something on there. It's kind of like a black plastic folding stock on an SKS for me. I feel like it could look better. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And if you like the way these look, hey, more power to you. Ergonomics. The shape is nice, just a nice rounded shape, fills the hand well. The kind of these flat-ish areas up in here fit the thumb and fingers nice. Might be a touch big for smaller hands. It feels like it fills my hand up pretty well, so it might not work for smaller handed individuals. Grip. Grip is lacking on this forend. I foresee problems with our conditional tests, but with that being said, there is ample space to put some, again, Talon grips or other aftermarket adhesive grip on there. This is textured a little bit on the underside, but that's prime real estate for some custom stippling if you want. We'll see how that does with that slickness in our conditional testing. Conditional testing for the ATI Strikeforce with rails installed. It's about 45 degrees currently. So hands are a little bit chilly. Dry, chilly hands. It's a little bit slick. There's not a whole lot of grip on there to begin with. It was slick enough that I honestly was worried about recoil coming back and hitting my thumb, because having tested 5-6 forends up to this point, my hands are getting a little sore, and I'm cognizant of pretty much everything that my hands are feeling now. So there's some sharp corners back there that I was worried about recoiling back into my hands because I can't grip it. Next up, just dirt. Hands started to slip up towards those rails a little bit, but the dirt actually seemed to add kind of some grittiness to help with grip. And also, when I rack it to the back or to the rear, I'm having a hang up somewhere. I wasn't having that hang up with other forends, so I'm wondering if something on it is contacting the barrel as it gets wider and fatter towards the chamber. I might have to double check that. But next up is some fine mud. It's that same dirt, but just with some water added to it. So the grittiness kind of added some grip, but not how you need it, because I really felt my hand sliding forward on that one. Now we'll just do a rinse off to shoot it wet. Yeah, wet. Excuse me. Very similar to the Mossberg OEM MLOK. I don't know if plastic and polymer from the factory has a coating on it of sorts, but after running through that, the wet in my hand feels grippier than how it started dry, but still not, there's just not a whole lot of grip on there. It's nice. It's a nice forend. I think I personally would like it more if not so much grittiness, but more texture, or texture in the right ways. Because if you remember on our tabletop, these lines up here run this way, which is good to grip it like down into your hand. But if you had some vertical or even like diagonal would probably be awesome, because you could get like downward force for your hand, but then also horizontal force for recoil to go into those. Yeah, I mean, good forend. If you're going to be prolonged shooting, it'll be great because your hands aren't going to get chewed up. The only thing with prolonged shooting I would worry about is the rails up here, and just eventually your hand working forward and recoiling and smacking your hand, or your thumb in my case, your thumb into those rails. But decent rail. Let me pause the camera real quick and I'll see if that hang up moving forward is an issue with the forend, or my gun's just getting crazy dirty by now. All right, currently no hand guard on there at all. Runs just fine. So it was something on the Strikeforce handguard that was contacting the barrel as it was fattening out towards the chamber. So you would have to go in and trim a little more on there just to ease that issue. All right, next up is the Magpul MLOK for Mossberg 590, 590A1. They are made for other models as well, making models. All right, unboxing. Slide that sleeve off. Open it. Comes with your two adapters, the actual forend. This one, Magpul, sends you a little tool, which is nice, and your instructions. So one issue with installation that I want to make you aware of, I found the difference between the two inserts. These ears are closer together on the one for the 590, just due to a 590 having a normal barrel as opposed to the 590A1 having a thick-walled barrel. Probably outer diameter is a little wider, so there's more space in that for the 590A1. But that still isn't enough space. As you can see, this line here and that line there are rubbing up against those ears. When I was shucking the pump, it was kind of difficult. I felt like it was catching on something, and it's because it's rubbing on there. So I will probably, I don't love that, so I will probably file those down just a touch to make it so they're not rubbing up and down the barrel every time the pump gets shucked. All right, after some minor fitting, it is sliding smooth now. There was also a high spot right down the center that was rubbing up against the barrel and causing some friction there. Aesthetics. When these first came out, the look was a pretty big deal. Everyone really liked them. They're like, oh man, that looks so good. That's so cool. But now it seems like because of how many of them exist out there in the world now, it's just kind of like, yeah, they look good, nothing special. It will get done what needs to be done while also going up over the barrel a little bit to protect your fingers and hands from touching the barrel. Ergonomics of the Magpul MLOK forend are pretty nice. It's got a good shape, generally round with some angles. This flared bottom piece here, bottom section, fills your hand pretty nice with these ledges here for your hands or your fingers to grip down onto. And speaking of grip, I feel like this is kind of the Goldilocks of grippiness, just something to appeal to the masses. It's not super slick, but it's also not going to chew your hands up. And it also lends itself really well to aftermarket grips. If you want more grip, you could stipple this if you want, being it's made of polymer. And I believe Talon Grips also makes a dedicated cutout for this platform. It's pre-cut out. You just got to peel it and place it, and it puts more grip in all of these channels here. And for long term, that's probably what I would do. This isn't quite grippy enough for me. I would like some more, but maybe our conditional testing will prove me wrong on that one, but we'll see how it does. Conditional testing for the Magpul MLOK. It's currently about 45 degrees outside, so hands are a little chilly. It's been warming up a little bit as I've been out here. So first up, just a dry run. Dry feels pretty good. It's not crazy aggressive. I feel like these ridges could be a little more defined, but we'll see as I continue on. That was 4, but next up, just some dirt. It was pretty good. The dirt added some grittiness to it, which kind of increased the grip a little bit. I feel like if I did have something mounted on the MLOK, I would be very aware of if my finger was going to run into it. Being that I would slide toward it, maybe I'll run more towards the rear back here, putting my thumb down below or in that middle MLOK slot. Next up is just mud. That was pretty slick. I could feel I had to adjust my grip pretty much every time on that. So mud was not the best. Need more ammo. So I didn't do the best mud, but still it wasn't tearing my hands up. Very doable. And next up is just a water rinse. The Magpul MLOK is a pretty good forend. A little slick, but those ridges are nice. They could, I would say, either add one more in between would make it better, or yeah, I think that would be the ideal, is one more of those ridges in between, in my opinion. I also want to credit Magpul for their tool that they use. I've been using this tool for all of this testing to take out all of the forends, put them back on, and I mean this thing's running like a champ. It's saved a lot of time in this testing, so that's a plus for Magpul. Also, is the tool that they ship with their forend. Next up is the FAB Defense Vanguard MLOK. Unboxing. This one is super simple. That's it. Just the handguard. Didn't come with any instructions or adapters. That's it. No stickers even. Before we install it, I gotta tell you right off the bat that this thing out of the box was ridiculously tight with the slide action tube. I pressed it on there and I couldn't get it off with like a vise holding these and pulling on it. I had to rig up a contraption with paracord to basically winch it out of there. Yeah, ridiculously tight. So what I did was basically using the threads as a file. I would insert and just pull it out and fill up those threads with plastic filings. Clean them out, and then I would just keep redoing that a little farther, and it's still pretty tight, but I would do it that way. I would do it from this end. Just over and over and over until I felt comfortable enough that I'd be able to get it out again. Along with installation is your MLOK slots. So a small one in the back, and then 3 normal size run along the sides, and 4 normal size ones on the bottom. Aesthetics on the FAB Defense Vanguard. I feel like this forend looks pretty sleek and cool, but kind of like the Ergo, I don't feel like the sides go high enough. They do go higher than the Ergo, but I feel under prolonged shooting, you do run a risk of touching the barrel with either your thumb or your fingers up along the sides there. The ergonomics on the FAB Defense Vanguard are pretty good. I like the shape because you've got these flats where your MLOK slots are that can grip and pull down, which pulls your hand up into the round bottom, which is pretty nice, feels pretty good. Maybe a touch big for smaller hands, but not bad. The grip on this forend is, I think it's pretty good. I really like it. It's not as much as I would like, but it's more than adequate. The MLOK slots along the top here are good for the fleshy pads of your fingers and thumb. Not ideal, but it's better than just a slick side up there. But these grip panels down here, the texturing is decent. It's better than most, but those could be bumped up a little bit with some stippling while keeping you in a nice border to look professional and not just a random stippling job everywhere. And the edges on those are nice and sharp. Not sharp like cut you sharp, but just very defined edges on those panels, which your fingers and your thumb could go down into, your palm on the bottom side. Yeah, I really like the grippiness on this. Be interesting to see how it performs under conditional testing. Conditional testing with the FAB Defense Vanguard forend. It's currently about 45 degrees outside. So a little bit chilly. Hands have a chill to them. But we'll run 4 dry first. The tops along the MLOK are a little slick for the fingers, but these panels down below feel pretty good. They provide pretty good purchase on the gun. Desert dirt out here, just get my hands dusty, dirty. A little bit on my hands for the grip. That felt really good. It's really grippy, even with dirt on it. Next up, mud. I can feel it slipping a little bit with the mud. Also, if you have any MLOK accessories on this side, you might have to modify your grip, bring your thumb down a little bit on there, because with that sliding forward, you'd probably start running into your accessory. So modify your grip somehow a little bit. But overall, pretty good grip on there. And last up is just a water rinse. Get that mud off and run it wet. FAB Defense Vanguard feels pretty good in all conditions. It could be just a touch slick right out of the box and new. Yeah, I feel like FAB Vanguard did pretty good. I got no complaints with this forend. And last up is the Strike Industries VOA, or Valor of Action handguard. All right, unboxing. Comes bubble wrapped with a installation tool, and your aluminum forend. And since the Strike Industries VOA comes with a tool. That means that it can be installed while on the gun. I will tell you though, just be sure that this pin right here is centered. So if you need to tap it in a little bit, just make sure it's totally centered and flush, because my first go around, I thought it was just a really tight fit, and that pin dragged along this edge here. And since I was tightening it down with that pin gouging into the metal, deformed this ridge on my nut a little bit. I mean, it's an easy fix, but yeah, just save yourself a headache. So along with installation, you have a bunch of MLOK slots. So you've got 2 on these sides, left and right, kind of high side, low side, angled one. You have 1 on this side, 1 on the other side, and then you have 4 across the bottom for just a ample space to mount accessories on here. The aesthetics on this forend are kind of interesting. It's bulky and doesn't look super streamlined, but it makes up for that by being lightweight. But I do gotta say, it looks pretty mean and pretty cool. It also addresses the potential grip problem of the Ergo and the FAB by raising up the sides. So it looks more complete, and you definitely won't burn your thumb or your fingers on the side of the barrel. Ergonomics of the VOA handguard. Fits the hand pretty good. It might be a touch bulky for smaller hands, but it's a good shape. It's got good angles that lend itself well to pulling down, which pulls your palm up into the grip. And the grip is really good. You have a lot of cutouts for the fleshy pads of your fingers and hands to enter and get a good purchase. And then you have all of these additional ridges that, again, they're not like sharp, but they're very defined for your fingers to ride up into, whether you go all the way around or your fingers stay down here. This allows you to get a really good purchase on that without being too harsh. And if desired, it could lend itself well to aftermarket adhesive grips. Got large flats there. And yeah, we'll see how this does with our testing under different conditions. Conditional testing for the Strike Industries VOA forend. It's about 45 degrees outside currently, and it's pretty cold to the touch, just having been sitting out here. But let's see how she runs. Dry feels pretty good. Those ridges are nice, nice and defined for the grip. These ones along the bottom, these like scallops here, hopefully you can see those. There's one in between each there on each side. My hands are super sensitive. This is the last one that I'm testing while I'm out here. My hands are super sensitive. Prolonged shooting, yeah, you could do without those. I don't know if those are doing anything other than I could feel them tearing into my fingers. But grippy, nice grippiness to it. I'd do without those cutouts on the bottom though. Next up, just plain dirt in your hand. Feels pretty good. The dirt added some grittiness, but overall feels pretty good. I can definitely tell the coldness from it though is pulling heat out of my hands. Next up is mud. Oh, there's 5 in there, but all I wanted was 4. Felt pretty good. I could feel it sliding just a touch on the mud. The MLOK position for my thumb, so I typically run straight thumb. My thumb is right dead center in one of those MLOK slots, and I could feel my thumb with recoil sliding to the very end of that and catching that. And if you have an attachment there, an accessory, obviously you'd have to modify your thumb grip a little bit, but it felt pretty good. Next up will just be a rinse to rinse everything off and run it wet. Get all that mud off. And with all of the notches in there, it does hold on to mud. What? Strike Industries VOA. As far as the conditional shooting portion is concerned, the only thing I don't like are those scallops or cutouts right there. Is it terrible? Awful? No. But yeah, I can really feel those. That's my only issue with them, is those scallops on the bottom. I guess the cold would be the only other issue. I could feel my hands getting colder as I held on to it more. But solid handguard. Alright, if this video is way too long and you didn't watch any of it, then this is the chapter for you. This is just a quick recap, pros and cons of all these forends. Old school checkered OEM wood. Pro is that depending on the condition, it can be found for very reasonable prices. Pro, it's classic, good looking, in my opinion. Another pro is if checkered, it provides a decent grip in pretty much all situations. A con, there's no accessory mounting without modification. Con, it can chip, crack, degrade, needs to be cared for a little more than other materials. And last con, wood can be heavier than other materials. OEM wood corncob, very similar to the old school checkered wood forend, but pro, depending on condition, it can be found for reasonable prices. Pro is it's classic, good looking, stylish. Pro, it provides good grip in all situations. Con, no accessory mounting without modification. And a con, with all wood, can chip, crack, degrade, needs to be cared for a little more so than other materials. OEM Polymer Corncob. The pro is that it is incredibly available and super cheap. Pro, it is very durable. Pro, it provides a great grip in all situations. Con, there is no accessory mounting without modification. OEM corncob with Tri-Rail. Pro, there are many variations from OEM to aftermarket. Pro, it's a decent price pretty much anywhere you find them. Pro, it's a good grip in all conditions. Pro, it's possible to now mount accessories to this one. A con, the Tri-Rail can be very aggressive, but that can be mitigated with rail covers. OEM MLOK. Pro, it's currently shipping on many offerings from Mossberg. Pro, it's a good grip in adverse conditions. Pro, it's possible to mount accessories all along its length and on 3 sides. Con, aftermarket availability for this specific forend is low and tends to be quite expensive. A con, it's kind of slick when it's new or from factory or really dry. That is super easy to remedy with gloves or aftermarket adhesive grips or MLOK grip panels. The Ergo Tri-Rail Pro, it's offered in both the short and long slide action tube. Pro, it's durable aluminum construction. Pro, it's got lots of space for accessories. Pro, you can kind of tailor the grip with rail covers. Con, aluminum will act as a heat sink, pulling heat from your hands in colder weather. Con, without gloves or rail covers, this grip is extremely aggressive. Con, it's got short sidewalls, which may not protect your fingers from a hot barrel with prolonged shooting. The ATI Strikeforce Pro, it's good availability with decent price. Pro, fits a large variety of different makes and models of shotgun. That can kind of be a con if there's too many adapters and parts and fitting for some people. Pro, you're able to attach accessories. Pro comes in 4 colors: FDE, black, Urban Combat, which is an olive color, and Destroyer gray. So con is there is lots of adapters and fitting that's required. But again, likewise, that can also be a pro. It does fit a lot of styles of shotguns. Con, it isn't grippy enough in most situations. You would have to supplement this with some aftermarket grip, in my opinion. The Magpul MLOK Pro, it's super available for a great price. Pro, it comes in the color options of black, FDE, stealth gray, and orange. Pro, you're able to attach accessories. Pro, it has high sidewalls to protect your hands from a hot barrel. Con, it uses adapters. They are simple, but it required some fitting due to the barrel rubbing in my case. Con, it was a little slick with the mud test. FAB Defense Vanguard MLOK Pro, really decent price. Pro, very sturdy construction. Pro, color options of black, OD green, and tan. Pro, you're able to attach accessories. Pro, it's a good grip in pretty much all conditions. Con, it was ridiculously tight on my first installation, which required some additional work. Not sure if that is just mine or if they all ship that way. Con, kind of has short sidewalls, but not bad. but depending on your grip style of shooting, it may not protect your fingers and hands from a hot barrel with prolonged shooting. The Strike Industries VOA Pro, it's durable and lightweight with its aluminum construction. Pro, you have high sidewalls that will protect your hands and fingers from a hot barrel with prolonged shooting. Pro, it looks really cool when installed. Pro, there's ample amount of mounting positions for accessories. Con is the price. You can get a polymer forend that does the same things for about a quarter to a third of the price of this one. But for some people, they just like things because they're a little more expensive. Nothing wrong with that, just so some people operate. So what are my recommendations? Well, it kind of depends on what you currently have and need from your setup. If your gun has the OEM MLOK, keep it. It's an awesome forend. If you absolutely need this forend to have more grip in really dry conditions, that's an easy remedy with different types of gloves, aftermarket adhesive grips, MLOK grip panels, or even a little stippling. But this is a very, very solid option. If your gun doesn't have a way to mount accessories and you really need that functionality in your forend, I would go with the Magpul MLOK or the FAB Defense Vanguard. Do you not want adapters? Go with the FAB. Do you want higher sidewalls? Go with the Magpul. Both are really great options. It just comes down to some nitpicky preferences that you may have between the two. My ideal forend would be to take the OEM Corncob with Tri-Rail and replace the Tri-Rail with MLOK slots, with those slots only running halfway down the forend and the back half be just straight corncob. So you get the amazing grip of the corncob that does fantastic in all conditions, and a way to mount accessories that won't jab into your hands if there's no accessories or you have extra accessory space. With the right tools, a standard corncob can be modded into this ideal forend, and I may attempt that in the future, but I've taken enough of your time at this point. Hopefully this video has helped you find a forend that fits your style, your needs, your desires for your pump shotgun. If it has, I'd really appreciate you hitting all those buttons down below that we all know and love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.